Welcome back everyone to our gameplay series of Transport Fever 2. And in our first couple of videos, we gotten things started by setting up some of the basic cargo routes that were pretty easy for us to get started with. And now we're going to shift gears a little bit into passenger transportation. So we're going to get down inside the city and try to move passengers from A to B. And for me at this point in the game, still very early, we're only 15 years into the game, I don't typically make a lot of money out of these passenger routes since we're using things like horse and buggy early on, but they do lay the foundation for what will come later on, and they will really help with the city growth so that by the time we get to other things such as some of the passenger trains that we'll get into later, or even airplanes, that we will have laid the foundation and have the cities grown to a point where they can really sustain those modes of transportation at a nice level of profit for us. So we're going to actually start out, absolutely love zooming in on different areas of the city and just seeing the work that has gone into creating these cities. Awesome. So let's zoom out and we're going to start in Costa Mesa. Now this is the very first city that we started off with. There's our crude oil pipeline that is running down to be converted into fuel. So what we're going to do is set up some passenger lines, and first thing we need to do is come into our overlays and we need land use. And this is going to tell us exactly which areas of the city are being used for what purpose. All of these green shaded areas are where the citizens live. This is the residential area. You come into the different shades of blue. This is commercial. This is where they go to shop. And then finally, the yellow or light yellow shades are where they work in the industrial area. So we know that our customers will be going from residential to work in the industrial or from residential over to commercial to shop. So that's going to give us an idea. So we know they're working sort of on the northern portion and western portion of the city, shopping sort of in the northeastern part, and then living all into the southern areas. So let's go ahead and set up what would be a basic route for this. We'll go ahead and get rid of the overlays. And for that, we're going to need to put down some buildings. In this case, very simple buildings. We're going to do a bus and a tram stop. We're not using any trams right now, but let's go ahead and pick out some spots in the residential area where we can pick up the most customers. And I'm going to go right down here at the bottom. And then you can see this area is still being developed. So we're going to skip it for right now and instead put one over here. And that will give us access to a great number of areas within the residential network. Then we're going to come out and put a stop right here in the commercial area. And then for right now, we're going to come over into the industrial area. And we're going to put one there. So it's going to be a very simple system. We've got 4 stops right now, but this should give us enough coverage to keep people moving around. And who knows, we might even make a small amount of profit with this. But again, at this particular point in time, the amount of profit we make is not my primary concern. This will set up the foundation of our network, and we can always come back in and add and subtract any amount of stations we want to as time goes on and we get more traffic. So we're going to, first thing, press escape so I can get the city name back up there. All right, so this is going to be, we're just going to label this one bus, since it's the only network we're going to have for passenger transportation inside the city. And now we'll come up to our depot. We'll purchase some vehicles. This time we're going passenger vehicles, which is the horse-drawn carriage. It has a maximum capacity of 4 people and travels 11 miles per hour. So that seems very familiar to something else we've already looked at, but on the passenger side this time. We're going to get started with, let's just do 1 carriage per stop right now, and we'll just sort of see how this works out. Just like we did with the cargo, we'll get things started, and then as times change, we'll give it a little while to work itself out, and then we'll make some adjustments. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and focus in. Just make sure that these guys are coming out, and yep, here they come. Right now I see them working their way over. it is very tempting for me at this point to really zoom in and start to take in some of the graphics improvements. Really like what they've done with the game here, but I'm going to resist that right now because what I want to do is give it a second to get going. And already you can see we've got the icon showing that we've got people waiting at each of our stops. That's what I want to see right now. It tells me that I've at least done the basics well enough to get us started. Whether or not we make money or how much money remains to be seen. So now we're going to move over to Surprise, which is my favorite town on the map and the one that is growing the quickest. Let's take a quick glance on that. Started at 130 citizens at the beginning of the game. We're up to 285. All right, I like that quite a bit. Let's see where we want to go here. Let's get our overlay back. All right, so we got them working down here in the southern area. Eastern area seems to be residential, and then we got a lot of shopping over in the northern part of the city. So let's go ahead and lay out the framework. Again, we're not going to use a whole lot of stops. Let's see how we want to do this. I'm thinking that, let's go in and do a street. I think I actually want to go ahead and do this. We'll remove that building. That's not a huge issue. We got $4.5 million right now. But what I want to make sure we're doing is we have situations where we can complete blocks rather than having to go down a street and then turn around and come back out. So I think that's going to help us, and it will enable me to do something like this. So I'm going to put one stop here and then another one here on the other side. So that will take care of our industrial area. Then I'm going to put a stop right here on sort of the main drag. Then we're going to come over to the residential area, put one there. Then we're going to put one over here. And then finally, we are going to end up with another one toward the center of the city. So if we back out and just look at that, remember, we cannot use these other stops that we have used earlier. These are simply drop-off points for our cargo, so we can't use those. The cargo one is right here. There you go. You can see some of our vehicles stopping at those now. So we've got a nice little network going here that I think we can make a nice little route. So let's go ahead and add some stops. We'll just start. Really doesn't make any difference where we start from. But I'm trying to hit each area as best I can here early in the game. All right, so there we go. 6 stops, and I feel like that gets us with a lot of coverage across the city. Okay, so now we'll press escape. All right, so surprise, and once again, we'll do bus. And that will be really useful later on when we're trying to filter all of these out, because we've reached a point now where we're starting to get several lines, particularly in some of these cities where we're sending a lot of cargo. All right, so let's buy some vehicles. This time we are going to start with 6, since that's the number of stops we have. And so now we go down bus route, and there we go. So now I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. I absolutely hate these messages. I'm glad the game is trying to tell me that we have condition poor on vehicles, but because we don't actually suffer a penalty of any real consequence from leaving them, that's something I really need a way to get rid of. So I'm going to have to look into that. But now already you can see we've got the icons saying we've got passengers showing up at the different locations, so we're in good shape. Now, every once in a while, it is very tempting for me when I'm not paying as close of attention as I should, that I will pick up on one of these cargo stops and try to add it in for passengers, and the game will very quickly, here at the top of the screen in this warnings area, let me know that I have not done something correct, so it'll give me an opportunity to fix it. So, once again, we see we've got passengers waiting, so we'll just let that work out for a little bit. And now we'll come over to Los Angeles. All right, so now let's take a look at what we've got in Los Angeles. We'll bring our overlay back. And let's see. So it looks like on the eastern side of the city is where they're living. Southern portion is where they're working. And then on the western portion is where there's shopping. Okay, that's simple enough for us. Let's go ahead and set up some stops. Let's see. We could complete this intersection over if we wanted to. That's not a bad idea, and I like that. Let's go ahead and do exactly that. The game would have eventually done that for us, but you can see immediately, every time I have completed an intersection like this, the game immediately expands out, and I really like that. In fact, I'm tempted to come straight down through here with one. So I'm trying to figure out, do we want to do that? Yes, we do. Let's go ahead and I like that idea quite a bit. And of course, you can see it's going to remove some buildings, this time only one, so it's not really much of a penalty for us. But the game rewards us with further expansion in the city, and that's exactly what we want to have happen. All right, so we're going to get into some routes here where we just sort of have to go down an area and then turn around and come back without making a complete block. Don't really enjoy doing that, but sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. All right, so let's start up here at the top. I'm going to put one very close to this intersection, which as time progresses in the game will end up being a primary intersection, as this is a primary road through the city. So we're going to put one here, and then I'm going to put one sort of right in here to capture all of this area between those two. And then same thing over here. I'm going to go about halfway down, about right there should be good. And that should allow us to take care of all of this area over here for now. Then we're going to have a stop there. And we're going to put another one about right there. And then I'm going to put one, let's see. Let's go ahead and put one right there. Now, granted, it's not going to get a lot of use right now, but very quickly I can see this being an area of growth. So we'll just sort of plan ahead a little bit. And I think this is going to give us a lot of coverage without having to have too many sort of dead-end roads to travel down like we would get over here. All right, so new line. Let's do, oh, that's because I hit the wrong thing. We don't want a new line. We want a new line like that. There we go. Hitting the wrong keys generally does not give you the results that you want. So now let's set up our line. Okay, so a total of 6 stops in a nice circular pattern. I like it. All right, so let's go ahead and do LA bus. Again, that will allow us to find that much quicker a little bit later on in the game when these cities are much bigger and there's a lot more cars out roaming around on them. So once again, we're going to start out with 6. And let's get these attached to the LA bus. So now we will just sort of give the game a minute. And we'll start to look for these passenger icons. There we go. I already see a couple of them already. In this case, I think we've actually got maybe 1 or 2 too many stops at this point. And what I'm looking at in particular is this one and this one. We already know this one's probably not going to get a whole lot of traffic. And as I say that, there's people waiting, which is awesome, quite frankly. I didn't expect it to get much of any traffic here for quite a while. But I think later on we'll be able to expand these routes as things progress. We're at 1870 right now. We're only 20 years in. We're not going to get to airplanes for quite some time. So really what I'm looking forward to next will be when we get into some locomotives that really interest me. There are certain ones that are kind of my favorites just because of their look and the amount of power and so on that they have. I have my favorites. So it looks like everything is moving along quite nicely here. Let's see, where is the next place that we were working with down here? I know we've got Yonkers right here. I was thinking there was somewhere else, but there may not have been. All right, so now let's come into Yonkers, and I'm just going to square this up a little bit. Bring our overlay back. And okay, so it looks like everybody's living in the southern portion, And on the eastern portion is where we're shopping and then working sort of on the, we'll call that the western side. All right, so is there anything we can do here? I mean, we could always, bring this out and make some additional road networks, but I think we can get by without that. Now, we're going to have at least one stop over here that should be primed for additional growth that this city should see. Let's take a look and see where we are. Plus 40 there, plus 20% there with the private transport. We want to get some of this public transport up and going so that they can grow even faster. All right, so for that, once again, we're going to get our tram stop, and we'll just start over here. And I'm going to put one about right there. Then we're going to come down to sort of the bottom of the city as it is right now. Put one there. We're going to put one near sort of the main drag through the city. Okay, so that'll take care of all of that area. And then I'm going to put one right here for further expansion a little bit later on. One up at the very top. Oh, and now we're getting into some vehicles that I do like, some locomotives, I should say. All right, and I want one. Let's see, I want to stop about right there. Should be really good because that will take care of some of this central part. That's the same reason why I've put one here as well. I'm going to be tempted, have to make sure I do not use this cargo stop, as I am wont to do, quite frankly. All right, so let's set this up. Nope, did I not? There we go. Took it a second. It didn't want to recognize that I clicked there. All right, then we're going to come over to the side to the first bus stops that we set up. All right, I like this quite a bit. Again, you can see we've got pretty good coverage on the city. So we've got a total of 6 stops. And so we'll go ahead and label this line. I don't even want to think about what this would look like in the line manager if you did not individually label your different lines. That would be horrific. All right, so let's buy some vehicles, and we'll start off with, once again, 6 to match the number of stops. And we want to do the Yonkers bus line. Let's take a quick look and make sure that we're getting passengers that are loading into the queue. Because usually if I don't get any passengers pretty quick that are loading in, there you see the first ones dropping in on these, then it tells me that I've probably got a warning up here. I've done something wrong. There we go. Passengers starting to load into the queue on some of these others. Again, we don't really expect this to see a whole lot of traffic right now. Okay, so it looks like everything is working. I've now seen at least one passenger everywhere, but I believe right here, and that is certainly no surprise. So with that in mind, let's now move back up top. Now that Costa Mesa has had a little bit of time to run through here, I always like to see bus stops with multiple icons here. We got 21 people waiting. Yikes. All right, so let's just filter this out a little bit. So the bus, looks like we are very close to capacity. 13 of 16 right now are riding, and we already know we've got a huge amount of people running here, and we're making some very nice money. $43,000 is more than I expected to make off of this route. And what this is telling me right now is I've got room for expansion. I can use some additional vehicles. Also, I'm very happy to see that we now have some additional vehicles. These are going to be handy for our cargo routes as they will go a little bit faster and also have a little bit more cargo room. Let's see, we got 9 people, 10 people waiting there. Okay, only 2 people were waiting there. We picked those up. Not as many through there. Okay, so it looks like we got a lot of people over in this area, which is sort of a blend of commercial and residential. So we're pulling people from a lot of different areas there. All right, so let's go ahead and expand here. I'm not going to get crazy with it. We're only going to add 2 more vehicles. Again, you can see it doesn't cost very much, 47 grand. All right, so we want Costa Mesa bus route. So that'll add a little bit extra there. Now let's move around. What was next on our list? I think it was Surprise right over here. That was next. And oh yeah, look at this. 35 people. Yikes. 23 people. That's what I'm talking about here. So let's look at our bus route. 14 of 24. We're making 31 grand as of now. Not bad. Not bad. But I think this is going to enable us. I mean, I am really excited. Only one person there. So we've got a couple of these that have a lot of traffic. Let's see, only 2. I still think that's enough there for us to, oh, I hate it when it does that. So nobody waiting here. So we've got 2 main areas that are getting lots and lots of traffic. Almost makes me want to create another route to pick up on that. But we'll stick with what we've got, and we'll just go ahead and add a couple more. So let's just go 2 more. And then as we did originally with the cargo, we'll keep an eye on it. And if things show that we have too many vehicles on a route, we'll certainly take some of them off and try to align things with where we need them. Now we'll come over to LA, which is right here. Let's see how LA is doing. Okay, everything, I don't see any double icons out there. So we're running about half capacity as of now, making 31,000. I'm happy with that. Okay, not bad at all. So we're not at full capacity. So if we added additional vehicles right now onto this route, we would do a couple of things. Number one, obviously, we increase our capacity on the route and give us room to expand. And the reason why that's good is because as this game continues on, as this playthrough continues on, we're going to have less and less time to come around to individual routes and really make them as efficient as possible. We're going to have to sort of leave things for many, many years at a time because we're going to be doing other things. So that's what leads me to really think about increasing capacity right now, even though it looks like things are running really well at the level of capacity we have. The other thing it does is it increases the frequency. This number will get smaller the more vehicles we add because obviously it will be a shorter amount of time between a vehicle reaching a particular stop. That's good. That could influence the amount of traffic we get. There you can see now we're getting up closer to capacity. So I think I'm going to go ahead and increase that capacity here in LA by adding a couple more. All right, LA bus route. There we go. So now I think we've given enough time for Yonkers to get settled. And let's see what they've got. So I see a couple of these have someone waiting. What do we have with Yonkers? So 13 of 24 as of now. Every 65 seconds is our frequency. 22,000 in profit. So the main thing is we have profit. We're not losing money on these routes. So once again, I think I'm going to do something similar here. As you can see, we do have stretches where we get up very close to our capacity. So let's go ahead and expand this and just add a couple more. All right, so this is going to be Yonkers bus. And now as we come back in, you can see we've increased our capacity and we have lowered our frequency, which both should ultimately be a good thing as time continues on. So I'm really excited about what we've been able to accomplish in today's video. And this is primarily the reason why. As much fun as it is to make a lot of money in this game, when you're able to see these cities grow from something like 101 to 183, and again, we're very short amount of time in this playthrough, that gets me very excited because this is just going to energize that city growth even more as we continue to work forward. All right, so as we glance around, let's just take a quick glance at some of our other routes just to see how things are going. You notice in the bottom left-hand corner, we have $9.2 million. And even though we've been making some nice size investments, we're making good money. We're quickly approaching $1 million in profit per year, and that is a very good number. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do right now is we're going to start to pay back on some of this loan. Let's go ahead and repay. In fact, we might just go ahead and repay all of this. Yeah, this is not bad at all. We're still going to have quite a bit of money. There we go. We are completely out of debt. We now have $4.5 million in the bank, and the longer we just let this go right now, the more money we're going to have in the bank for future projects. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned for more Transport Fever 2.